The name Jim Pepper may be familiar to many of you. He had a huge hit with the song Wichita. Well, Pepper died in 1992, but there's talk today of a Jim Pepper Music Festival at Portland State University this coming fall. OPB archivist Jack Berry has followed Jim Pepper's career and put together this look back on this remarkable musician.
Here we have a report on a horn player who hasn't been around in the flesh for a long time but keeps turning up. Way back in 1979 at the Oregon Jazz Society picnic, Jim Pepper confronted Johnny Green's song Body and Soul. Virtually every exponent of the tenor saxophone and jazz has at one time or another tested him or herself against the famous Coleman Hawkins rendition of this song, which boosted the tenor into large prominence in the 1930s. Pepper, an Oregon-born American Indian, was and is still famous in Europe. For those who remember him in Portland, his hometown, he's frequently thought of as an excessively colorful character.
But he was walking up to the stage playing the saxophone, and he could not see the black monitor speaker that was on the edge of the stage. So with his saxophone in his mouth, he tripped over the monitor. He did a complete somersault with the saxophone in his mouth and came up playing and played on a slow blues, played this smoking blues solo that was just, had all these big fat biker women going, "Ah!" at the end of this. I mean, it was the most spectacular stage entrance I'd ever seen in my life.
Pepper created a very singular body of music which included mainstream and free jazz, performed on a very high level. Into this context, he incorporated American Indian chants and songs drawn from his Kaw and Creek origins.
It's good where we've been and where we're going. Hey, 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 hey. It's so good where we've been and where we're going. Yes, it is. Hey, 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 hey.
Floy Pepper, the musician's mother, recently revisited this residence in the Park Row section of Northeast Portland. It's a storied place. 4 generations of Peppers lived in this house, which was also a haven for scores of musicians and other strays. Floy, who at 90 is the oldest member of her branch of the Creek Nation, had a storied career of her own. Her memoir appeared in the spring 2006 issue of the Oregon Historical Society Quarterly. She talked about her return to the old homestead.
It evokes lots of feelings, both good and bad, because he played his horn when I wanted to sleep. He insisted on playing his music, his style, his way.
Floy's nephew, Jim Pepper Henry, reminded her of the cost of that horn.
You've paid for that horn many times over the years.
Well, yes, I did that.
You told me that you have a box full of receipts, and there were how many times that you redeemed that horn from a pawn shop?
I don't know how many times, but it was plenty.
The recent concert of Pepper music was produced by Cruz. I asked him how he became the foremost promoter of Jim Pepper's music on the West Coast.
Well, it certainly wasn't my plan, but I bought this house 4 years ago, and I didn't know anything about the history of the house. There was just a special feeling about being in the house, and I found myself buying Native American music, books, pictures, dream catchers. I'd been living here for a couple of months when I met the lady on the corner who asked me if I knew the history, and I didn't, and she told me.
The first outing of Cruz as a producer of Pepper music highlighted an association with world music. Pepper spoke of American Indian and African music as coming from the ground up. Following a trip to West Africa, where he performed in straw hut villages, not concert halls, his palette was expanded to include additional musical traditions. Shortly before his death, he had scheduled a trip to Peru with guitarist J.B. Butler and his wife Luciana Provaño. Her Andean bird danced at the Blue Monk to a recording of Pepper singing a Powwow 49 song.
Oh yes, I love you, honey. I don't care if you're married, I still love you. I'll get you yet.
Glenn Moore, a founding member of Oregon, a band that is also larger in Europe than in this country, performed with Pepper and the Young Oregonians, an endearing institution here in the 1950s.
Jim, who was quite an accomplished dancer, would put on a tuxedo and do a tap dance, and then put on full regalia, Indian regalia, and do an Indian dance, and then put on a sort of snappy outfit and be the cool saxophonist.
This musical companion of Pepper, early and late, improvised a tribute.